What should we expect from Shota Imanaga in 2024? Let's go.
You are Locked On Cubs, your daily Chicago Cubs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Cubs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, alongside Sam Olber. I'm Matt Cozy. Sam and I are lifelong fans, taking our passion into a discussion with you on all things Cubs. Thank you for being part of the show and making Locked On Cubs your first listen today. And the best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day, like the video, and comment anything below. Let us know in the comments section, what are your expectations for Shota Imanaga entering the 2024 season? Today's Thursday episode is presented by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKED ON for $20 off your first purchase. The Cubs signed Shota Imanaga last month to a 4-year, $53 million deal, although there is some contract creativity in there that we'll get to in a little bit. The left-handed starting pitcher spent the last 8 years in Japan, and there's a lot to zoom in with the Cubs' new pitcher. Sam, what type of impact do you think Imanaga can have in 2024 and beyond?
Yeah, it's interesting. We really haven't talked much about him since the initial signing. And I think the reason is because, it's filled with a lot of unknown because he hasn't pitched here. But I think that unknown has been taken negatively because of his style and his contract. And we talked about it yesterday with Pacoda, to project somebody like him. I mean, this, Matt, that diehards or, baseball people, they know the Japanese league is the second best league in the world. It's not like he's coming from little league, and to sit there and look at some of the things that he provides, I just think it's crazy that was his projection. And I can't tell you exactly what I think he's going to be, but some things that I think are very noteworthy about him is that he struck out more than a guy per inning in a league that doesn't strike out. Japanese players are contact hitters. They don't like to strike out. Yes, he lives up in the zone and he only throws about 92, 93, but he gets a lot of carry. He's going to give up his home runs. He's going to have some rough outings, and I know it's only one stint, but him in the WBC, him in the gold medal game against the United States, like this is somebody that could pitch. And I just don't think these Pacoda stats or these projections have any sort of projections for certain guys that just know how to get outs and get the job done when you need to get the job done. Hey, it's first and third, one out. I'm playing for a strikeout here. I'm playing for a ground ball. There's no analytics for that. There's no metric for that. It's just called being a baseball player. And I think he had, and I think he has that. And I just don't think somebody that has an ERA for their entire career under 3 overseas is going to come here and just absolutely tank. So my expectations for him would be, I think he needs to be a very solid number 2/3. I think his ERA needs to start with a 3 in it. I think he needs to be reliable, and I think he's going to be all those things.
The ERA starting with the 3, I think, is a very fair expectation. The NPB being known as the number 2 league on the planet for baseball. I've heard it called 4A. I could see a path to that. I don't think it's unfair necessarily. But how can his ERA starting with the 2 for his whole stint there be a coincidence? Sure, there's pitchability concerns. I hear about some durability concerns, being that he's 5'10", 175, which I absolutely despise as an argument.
Yeah.
I think that is actually pretty unfair. Countless players have proven that their size, in fact, does not matter, or it matters less than we perceive as it's listed on the baseball card. the fly ball rates are notable, and we have discussed that before. We know about Wrigley Field, especially in the summertime, being apt to more offensive production. But I can't see much right now that gives me a cloudy feeling over Imanaga. I'm excited that they signed him. He was the first big move of the offseason. It's clear that they were locked in on him for a while. Jed Hoyer went over to Japan last fall, scouted him among other people. Imanaga really likes Chicago. The Athletic broke a couple times now in stories that he was around for a while, even before putting pen to paper and going to Blackhawks games and bowls and taking it in the city and the culture and the connection and welcoming feeling that Japanese players and citizens have had in the nation's third largest market. So it seems like a great fit. I hope he performs on the field. This ended up being a bargain, and hopefully it pays off.
Yeah, and I mean, when you look at his profile, when you look at his page, there just isn't a lot that jumps out that's a red flag, besides maybe the home run balls. And look, the durability thing to me probably comes from his shoulder issue more than his size. I mean, Greg Maddux wasn't a very well-built man. Tim
Right.
Lincecum wasn't a very well-built man. Kyle Hendricks. I mean, there's plenty of pitchers. I mean,
They're not exactly power lifters.
Nobody's asking him to pick up LeBron James 94 feet. He's pitching a baseball. So, anyone that says, that they're concerned because he's 5'10", 175, well, you should meet me. You know what I mean? So I'm 5'11", by the way. But when you
what
look
does my
at,
dad always say? You're taller in person.
well, because he likes this bit because people tend to
He's
tell
been
me
doing that like every time now.
Yeah, he does use that bit frequently. Go Hawks. Like the thing that jumps out to me, Matt, when I look at his page,
what
his
jumps
reference
out
page,
to you, Sam?
a career whip of 1.07. I mean,
Perhaps my favorite pitching stat.
Yeah, he doesn't give up a lot of walks. He doesn't give up tons of hits.
Right.
The only thing that's going to get him this year is, if I had to predict what Shota Imanaga is going to be, is let's say he makes 27 starts. 23 of the 27 starts, he's probably going to have an ERA in the low twos. And then he's going to have 4 starts at Wrigley, or something where the wind's blowing out and he gives up about 7. And so he'll end up in the high 3s or something along those lines, maybe the mid 3s. But that's all right. And Hendricks is similar. But the thing with Imanaga that I can't wait to watch, and we might know early, is do the strikeouts carry over? I would think he'll strike out more guys here. Not a lot of guys in Japan have a ton of launch angle or looking to hit homers. We all know the Kosuke Fukudome type swing, run and hit, so they're hard to strike out over there. So I'm thinking that those numbers could carry over. If he gives us 160 innings and strikes out 175 men, he's going to be, this is going to be a good pitcher for the Cubs. And the apples to apples thing is with Stroman. And look, the first half last year, Stroman was as good as anybody in the land. But overall, throughout 162, he ended up having a very mediocre season. I expect the total body of work from Imanaga to be better.
Some contract details. After the 2025 and 26 season, the Cubs will hold an option to extend Imanaga's contract to 5 years, which would raise the deal's overall value to $80 million. If the Cubs decline their option following the second or third years, then Imanaga will have the option to become a free agent. Sam, is Imanaga somebody, we noted that we're not necessarily going to be checking in with each other or on the show much about spring training performance, but I could see Imanaga being one that we zoom in on.
Yeah, yes and no. I think, I remember Suzuki, when he first started, he was pretty rough early in the spring, and then he got off to a hot start. Yeah, I think with Imanaga, I said this when we signed him. If he has an ERA that starts with the number 4 in April, I'll be thrilled. Like
I like that.
I
Good
expect
perspective.
Kodai Senga almost won the Cy Young last year. He was horrendous to start the season. He was.
Okay.
I had him on my fantasy team. He had 3 guys on base every inning in April.
Yikes!
It takes time to settle.
Takes time.
So I'm not really looking at him with major expectations until May starts to hit. Now the counterpoint could be like, hey, if he's pitching at Wrigley in April, he's got to take advantage of that wind. So maybe that's the counter, but it's negligible. I think early on, I think Tyone needs to pitch well for this club.
I think he's pitching game 2, by the way.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I think Hendricks is going to pitch the home opener.
I think you're right. And you think Imanaga for 3.
Yeah, the finale in Texas.
Yeah. I think Tyone needs to, carry some weight for this club early in the season.
Correct. That's and right away. I'm not going to give him 3 or 4 starts. Right? Come out and perform right away.
Oh no.
So if he starts game 2, that means his second start will be against the Rockies.
Yeah.
I mean, let's go, man.
No, and I think he's going to pitch well.
Oh, well, man, this illness that you have has really caused a stir over there. Just flowing with positivity.
Go Cubs.
Well, no. Well, don't ask me. Don't ask me about Palencia, dude.
Coming up next,
I don't think he's any good at all.
Jeff Passan, one of the reporters that we respect on this show. Is that right?
Only. Yeah, there's 2.
Wow. He made a local radio appearance. Let's get into some of that. Stay tuned. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. You shouldn't have to worry when you buy tickets to your next big event. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their best price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. Game Time is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. Listen to this. You can see the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. So all the guesswork is taken out when you buy tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed with Game Time. We're back here on Locked On Cubs. Jeff Passan, ESPN National Baseball reporter, appeared with Waddle and Sylvie on ESPN 1000 on Wednesday. And when I share some of his observations, mainly a quote, which we have a new graphic for the viewing audience, and we'll read aloud for the audio listeners. Please keep in mind that Passan did admit he was mostly reading the tea leaves rather than being specifically informed. Okay. So first thing was he thinks the Blue Jays need Cody Bellinger more than the Cubs do. Mm-hmm. I could see that. What does that mean? I don't know. He noted the nightmare situation with Ohtani. He cited the Vlad Jr. and Bichette expiring deals in a year or two, and that the Blue Jays might be playing for more a desperation than the Cubs are.
Okay, that makes sense.
And he also said the Cubs window is just opening. If they don't go and do something massive this offseason, right, it's not necessarily a lost offseason, although I think a lot of fans would disagree. He also called Pete Crow Armstrong Bellinger light if PCA is able to eventually produce offensively. And let's share this quote right here on Jed Hoyer. Quote, "One thing we know about Jed Hoyer at this point is he's got a price in mind. He'll be willing to pay it and be aggressive in that regard, but he's not going to go chasing something. I don't blame him for 1 second." Thoughts on that quote, Sam?
I wish I had that mindset in high school with females. You know, you don't chase. You don't chase. You let them come to you. You know what I mean? All jokes aside, can we take the graphic off?
Having some production issues.
Okay, yes.
Cubs.
Yeah. Look, that Jeff Passan is the definition of somebody that has, a logical opinion as an outsider that makes sense. Us diehards, we want to win every year. We want to win the division every year. Jeff Passan covers the whole league, so it's very easy for him to come in and say, hey, look, your guys' window's just opening. What's the rush? Relax a little bit. Well, us daily podcasters can't relax a little bit. We want to win. And last year we felt like we were one move away from winning the division. This year, it feels like we're maybe one or two moves away from being the favorites in the division. And those opportunities just don't grow on trees. With that being said, it's still a very fantastic. What are you laughing at, man?
I like the grow on trees part.
Oh,
I enjoyed that.
With that being said,
we have fun on this show. I can't speak for the other ones. Go ahead.
With that being said,
right. Well, you've said that 3 times now. Please go ahead.
Because you keep cutting me off. So with that being said, I'd like to say that it still doesn't mean that the Cubs are in a rush. But why can't we have a piece of cake with a little chocolate and a little vanilla frosting and eat it too? Why can't we have a great future and then use our resources to go out and spend and win a very mediocre at best division? So that's what we want. But I agree
mediocre
with everything
at best. FanGraphs says the Cardinals at 84 wins, topping the division.
Yeah, and so I agree.
Another projection.
I agree with what Passan is saying. The Cubs aren't desperate, and I would just like them, maybe to be a little bit more because I want them to win baseball games.
He added that he views Nico Horner to have a successful 2024 campaign, even more so than last year.
Great.
And despite all of this, he does think the Cubs will get one of the 4 Boris guys, the big names, Bellinger, Chapman, Montgomery, Snell. So no desperation to go 200 plus million, which maybe 2 or 3 of those guys are asking still. But we'll see how it shakes out. But I like that quote about Jed Hoyer.
Look, that's who Jed is, man. And it's very fair for you to say, well, hey, we want you to extend yourself a little bit more. But he is who he is. He believes in value. He sticks to his guns. He sticks to his principles, and that's why that's why he signed Dansby Swanson, because that deal made sense to him value wise. That's why he went out and got Imanaga. It made sense. Now there's some ones that didn't. To Tyone at 68 never seemed like that was. That made a lot of sense. But, and Mancini. But there's,
Barnhart.
Should that be the last time I mention him on this show?
I don't know if I'm going to say something like that.
Because I just, man, does he really, he really irks me.
I don't really plan on mentioning him, but I'm not going to say that we're never going to do it.
Excuse me a moment. Thank you.
There's been good signings. There's been bad ones.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
That's for sure. 49 days until opening day. Man, do the Cubs have some nice history with that jersey number. Let's count down the days until opening day. Next.
Oh, boy.
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Happy Super Bowl week to everybody from FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Super Bowl Sunday is all about scoring the best seat on the couch, grabbing your favorite snacks, and placing some super bets. You got the game, food, commercials, halftime show, and more. 49ers and Chiefs. Going to be a great game on the gridiron. I'm, of course, going to have my notepad out for the commercials. For my classes the next day, going to partake in some good food, and of course that great matchup. FanDuel has so many ways for you to end the season with a W or 2 or 3. Not only can you bet on who will win Super Bowl 58, but FanDuel also has bets for which players will score a touchdown, how many points will be scored, and so much more. New customers join today and you'll get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Just visit fanduel.com/locked-on to sign up. FanDuel.com/locked-on. FanDuel, official partner of the Locked On Podcast Network. 49 days until opening day. As we move closer to real baseball on March 28th, we're going to count down the amount of days remaining with players that wore that jersey number. We just started this with Wednesday's episode, and we're going to keep going at least to close out this week. As right now, our plans are to return with a new episode on Monday, as next week we return to 5 episodes per week. Pretty crazy. But we're excited. I think that's a sign that real baseball's ahead. 49 days, that's not many, Sam. And we have Jake Arrieta, who was with the Cubs 2013 to 17 and then returned in 21. I still remember that trade. Summer of 2013, Scott Feldman, and I believe one other player. Was it Steve Clevenger? And
sorry, I'm muted. Sorry, I was muted. It was Steve Clevenger, yes.
Steve Clevenger, and it was perhaps the best return in Cubs history via trade.
Yeah,
Jake Arrieta and Pedro Strop.
Yeah, and there's you would think that he absolutely is the best 49 in the history of the Cubs.
He is.
But isn't there somebody else? Or am I
have
wrong?
Carlos Marmol's name here.
I thought I thought Lee Smith wore 49. Is that wrong?
I didn't see that.
Oh no.
I didn't see that.
Am I wrong again?
Hold on. So.
No, hold on.
Because Marmol was with the Cubs for a while, by the way. Longer than I thought.
Where does it say his number here? I think he wore 49 with the Cubs, man.
Well, I'm going off Baseball Reference.
So am I.
Well, let me see. I can't do but.
Oh no, Expo. No, that he wore it with the Expos. He was 46 with the Cubs.
Oh boy.
I thought I knew. Hey, listen, I knew Lee Smith wore 49. It just wasn't with the Cubs.
Listen to this. Carlos Marmol wore it from 06 to 13, and Arrieta debuted in 13, but they never crossed over. So both wore 49 in 2013 season, and Arrieta wore it from his debut because Marmol was traded in early July. Do you remember who he was traded to? I didn't know. I just did not remember this at all.
No. Carlos Marmol? No.
He was traded on July 2nd, 2013.
I don't even remember.
Player to be named later.
I don't even remember where. I don't even remember Carlos Marmol. Like, I think by 2013 he was like a castaway. Like, I don't even think he was a contributor. I know he pitched for the Marlins at some point, but
I'm shocked he was still on the team that long.
I know he pitched for the Marlins, but I don't think he got traded there. I don't remember.
Yeah, it was the Dodgers.
Yeah, Dodgers.
Other multi-year players with 49 with the Cubs are Felix Heredia.
Oh, the left-hander.
Jamie Moyer.
Another left-hander.
And then we got some older eras, let's say.
Jamie Moyer pitched till he was about ready for Social Security.
Donnie Moore was a multi-year player with 49. That was a while ago.
That would be the answer to my next trivia question.
And Bill Hands.
Oh.
As well, who might have been part of a trivia question. We'll see. And so that's 49. Man, what a rich history there, especially with that top player in Arrieta. And opening day is right around the corner, I have to say.
Can I ask you a question before we go off the air?
Sure.
This is not a baseball related thing, but it's a Chicago related thing. Do you know who leads the NBA in attendance?
Is it the Bulls?
Yes.
Man, what a fan base, despite all the
You want to talk about a fan base that is passionate, be enabling. Hey, what reason do any of these owners have to win when they're going to make money regardless?
That is pretty wild.
The number one in attendance, they had a sellout last night.
And I heard, and they were like really into the game, right? It was a good game.
Oh, they were loud.
I wonder what they're thinking and feeling. Like, so it's just really about the experience of going to the game?
I don't know, man. I haven't been to a Bulls game in a country.
You'd have to take out a small loan to go to a game, no?
Well, you have to take out a small loan at this point to buy a thing of grapes.
Thank you so much for checking out this edition of Locked On Cubs.
But this isn't that type of show.
30 minutes, and we'll give you all things Cubs with a laugh or two along the way. Be sure to hit subscribe on YouTube and smash the like button
$27 for burrito
for the algorithm, and leave a 5-star review on Apple, Spotify, and everywhere you get your podcast. We will be back on Monday. He's Sam Olber. That's right, pending breaking news. He's Sam Olber. I'm Matt Cozy. This is Locked On Cubs.